Hello, all. Good morning. Hope you have been sleeping earlier from the day we requested you to do the same thing. You'll be definitely having a better day the next day when you sleep early at the night. Okay. So, yesterday we saw about food and some basics about food. Today we're going to continue the same thing. We saw till here yesterday. We saw that it is better to eat fruits first than later. Many people say do not mix cooked and uncooked food. But if you're eating fruits, if you eat them first, later you can eat cooked food even continuously without a break. There won't be any harm if you eat the fruits first. And food is not just carbohydrates or proteins or vitamins and minerals. In the modern society, we think if you eat proteins, you will get proteins. If you eat carbohydrates, you'll get carbohydrates. If you eat vitamins, and then you get vitamins. We are somehow thinking that you have to eat a certain thing to get what is there in it. And when you eat what is there in it, you will get it. Both are, in a way, very wrong misconceptions. Because you need not eat actually protein to get protein. There are precursors of protein, means which can become protein later. Even eating those can give you protein. For example, green leaves have nitrates, which are required and going to become protein structures. But nobody says leaves have protein. People say protein is there in dal, it is there in milk, it is there in egg, it is there in meat, it is there in mushroom, it is there in soya. This is what people say when you talk about protein. Even eating leaves will give you protein, not just whatever they have been telling in these scientific ways. And people think if you eat meat, you'll get the protein. So when there is a protein issue, they give more meat, more egg, more milk. It is not how the body works. And whatever you eat, the body don't take. See, body, when it absorbs something, it is a lot of process it has to undergo. And body does not want to waste its resource on things what it does not demand or need now. So whatever you add, it is not going to take, it is not going to process, it's not going to use it immediately, right? So our way of seeing food is different. You are what you eat. Not only is the physical food, you are what you absorb everything with your senses and your digestive tract. Please understand that. And the emotions and thought process, what you have while eating, is also going to become a part of you. Seeing a horror movie while eating, eating when you are actually listening to some sad stories, recalling a sad instant and eating, are all going to build more sadness inside you than giving a solution, because emotions and thought process given along with food becomes a part of you more. That is a very effective way to train kids in a positive manner, not negative manner. Our mind is always open to stories and something which has a suspense. So make sure when you eat in your family, good things go into you and not bad things. And let us go into some basics of eating. So there are a few questions we usually talk about, that is when to eat, where to eat, how to eat, how much to eat, what to eat, what not to eat. There are so many questions like this. Let us see few of them. Okay. So first, let us see when to eat. We have to eat only when we have real hunger and not false hunger. How can hunger be false? Yes, hunger can also be false. In fact, most people these days are eating either with a poor hunger or a false hunger or the appetite. Appetite means it is not hunger actually, it is not the demand by the body actually, but the body is used to get food at that time daily. So at that time, your body starts feeling hunger, like projecting hunger. That is appetite. Okay. In medical history taking, the doctors will ask about appetite. How is your appetite? Is it increased or decreased? So that appetite change is a clue for diagnosis for many diseases. But that appetite is only appetite. It is not hunger. That real hunger need not come thrice in a day. Unless you are a small kid or you work hard, it may not come thrice in a day. For people who work from home, people who work mentally, that hunger is not really a body requirement. It is half of the times it's a mind requirement, a kind of craving. The habituation, what they have done to their body and mind, that asks for something. The pleasure, what they get from eating, that's what the mind wants. It's not actually eating, it's a pleasure. But that is associated with the eating. So our mind thinks about eating and we also think we are hungry. How to differentiate between real hunger and false hunger? There's a small thing you can do. Whenever you feel hungry, don't eat immediately. Wait for some time. If you feel tired, if you feel very low, if there are some sounds coming from your abdomen, from your stomach, and if your hands start shivering, you feel like you are going to faint, you feel breathlessness, you get headache, you feel all these uncomfortable feelings, then understand it is not real hunger. It is false hunger, because real hunger will be very pleasant. It will not create any discomfort like this. In real hunger, you will be able to work better and your awareness will improve and increase. You'll be more aware and alert. You won't become tired. You won't faint. That is not real hunger. And when you drink a glass of water or 2 glasses of water, in false hunger, you will feel full immediately and you will feel some kind of a bloating feeling. Not exact bloating, but something like that. You will feel your stomach is full and your hunger won't be there anymore. Even when you have real hunger, because you drank water, your stomach will feel full, but it is a different feeling of fullness than from the false hunger. And within some time, your hunger will gradually start increasing. See, the body is using up the water, and after some time, the hunger will return back gradually. It will not come very quickly and drastically. It won't come in trouble like that. It will come very gradually and it will be pleasant. Okay. But for false hunger, it is not like that. They may not feel hunger again. So this is a very big difference between real and false hunger. So when you get real hunger, you will desire to eat actually a good, nutritious, healthy food. Your mind won't crave for unhealthy foods, which you yourself know unhealthy, it won't ask for it. But in false hunger, you prefer bad foods. Good food also okay, but bad foods you prefer because That is actually not a body requirement. It's a mind requirement majorly. Your body is just supporting your mind, but the requirement is in the mind. Any discomfort associated with hunger is not real hunger. Of course, people who don't eat for 2-3 days, they get hunger. That may be real hunger or false hunger. That's a different story. But in real hunger, the body will be able to bear non-availability of food for a longer duration than false hunger. And eat when your mind is calm and happy. Because when your mind is not calm and happy, the body is not going to be ready to digest food. Okay. In Bhagavad Gita, Krishna says, the food is digested by your mind, not your body. How mind can digest food? That we will see in some other slides later. But time being, understand the nature of mind and the nature of food, what you eat, are both going to create a vicious cycle. The mind's nature is going to ask for a food of certain nature, and that food is going to increase the same nature in the mind. So what food you start habituating for yourself is ultimately going to be your nature of the mind. Okay, so what are those things and all, we can see some other time. But time being, please understand, it is better for the mind to be calm and happy, for you yourself to understand what is the actual food, what you like and what you need. Your body is asking for it. Your internal something, what is the actual part of you, is asking for what kind of food. You will know that only when your mind is calm and happy. See, calmness is not always positive. It can be just neutral. You're calm. You don't have anything to worry about, or you don't have anything to ponder about. Maybe you're calm. But happiness is something positive, a satisfaction, a sense of achievement, a sense of security. All those things are required minimally to be happy. Once there is happiness in the mind, the digestion, the conversion, the absorption, utilization, elimination all become definitely much, much better. So, if you are not happy as an adult, at least don't make kids cry and eat them. And don't make kids scared. Don't make them eat under a threat. No, that is not going to help them grow at all. That is going to create a negativity inside them in a very large manner. This is a mistake most parents do. A hungry kid will never be quiet. It is going to demand you and nag you for food till it is going to be fed. If you have to take a vessel of food and go behind the kid and feed it, you're doing a very big mistake. You are forcing the baby to have food which it is not requiring. The body is not going to focus on growth physically and mentally. It is going to force itself to digest the food, which uses its credit balance of energy. That is not at all a good thing. Please, please don't force feed anybody, especially kids. Don't give them a threat and feed them. Don't tell some ghost is coming and going to take you and give them food. They are always going to believe that there is some bad thing and it is going to come to me. These are all very, very bad things which we cannot prove it is going to happen wrong, but that is how it is. We are seeing it this in our experience. Please do not eat with any wrong emotions in the mind. And only when the body is relaxed, you actually feel and enjoy a good meal. See, every mouthful of food you should be able to enjoy. That is real hunger and that is a good meal. Okay. Bad foods we cannot enjoy every mouthful because it's not a real taste. It is a stimulated artificial taste which are designed to create addiction. Most packed things are having this kind of formulas which can create addiction. Okay. And the main meal of the day should be before noon. Means the sun is rising and after noon it is going to start setting. It will set evening, but it is going to going for that goal. It is cross the middle, cross the half of the day. Before that should be your main meals. In Vedas, it is mentioned that meals had before that noon, probably even semi-digestion is over. Those people will have a long life because your energy is ascending in that time. After noon, your energy starts descending. See, the sun rises, your energy also rises. So in that time, when you digest food, you're having more surplus energy by which you can digest the food and make it a part of your body. And you don't spend more energy, which you will be spending if you eat after that noon. So your life actually increases. And dinner should be had before sunset. See, now before sunset has lot of divisions. For example, imagine today's sunset is at 6:35. Now, what time should you be eating? You should be starting by 6:35 or start by 6:15 or start by 6 or 5:45. What is that? Technically, at least finish eating before sunset, at least 5 minutes before sunset. Because if it's cloudy, you don't know when the sun is setting. You only have a vague idea. You cannot actually see it. So at least sometime before sunset, if you finish eating, it is minimal requirement. Starting to eat after sunset is definitely different. But finish eating at least before sunset. If you want to have a good eating routine for the purpose of spiritual benefits, then your digestion should be over before sunset. In those days, it was a common practice for Brahmins and Jains and people who are very spiritual to eat food by evening 4 o'clock. So by almost 4:30, the food is over. By around 6:30, it has been 2 hours they had food now. So there is no major work remaining in the body in terms of digestion. And those days, food means simplicity, not a 7 course meal every day. Okay. So the major population, the lifestyle was like this. Morning, they get up early. They just start doing work by drinking some water. Sometimes the water in which the rice has been soaked the previous day, and it is not daily affair. Daily rice don't remain because the family is large. They finish it. If at all there is some rice remaining, they give to beggars who come at night. They feed some animals with it. If they are not of that status that they can daily give to animals, they store it. How do they store it? They pour water. That rice, because of the rice quality those days, and because they cooked in earthen pots those days, and because the rice were raw rice, not parboiled rice, that rice used to remain for 3 days without getting spoiled, without much fermentation. And that water they drank the next day morning by mixing more water or thin buttermilk, and they went to job. Farmers will go to land, potters will go and collect mud or work with the mud. They used to keep doing something. They were not waiting for idli dosa. They were not eating dry breakfast. So early morning is water, liquid, and then they go to work. Around noon, when they're hungry, the food will be ready in the home and somebody will bring it to their place where they work, or they will go to their place and they'll have food. After taking a shower, they take bath when they go from their land. See, most of them were farmers. Any community, doesn't matter which community they belong to, they were having some kind of farming. They take a shower and then they go and have food. Then they rest. This is a common routine in those days. If you were in villages in those days, you can recall this. They used to eat when the sun is at the top, and they take rest. They again go to land and do some remaining work. They come back home. depending upon their locality and their habits, they used to come back home at a certain time in the evening, take a shower, maybe do some prayer or something, and again eat. This was a very common thing. And after the sunset, there is no much light, only lamps are there. They keep it away and they keep chatting and they sleep wherever they are sitting. Kids just do that. Kids sleep wherever they are playing. Then adults take them and make a bed for them, and adults sleep there, sleep wherever it is fresh and airy and ventilated to sleep. They don't close everything and sleep. A very calm and peaceful life. So the food was generally twice a day. Bathing was thrice a day. This is common in those days. Minimal twice bathing was there. People used to take bath thrice a day, eat twice a day, sleep only once a day. But nowadays it's very different. We take bath maybe once a day, sleep whenever we want, eat whenever we want, and that is going to be a big problem. So if you are aiming to be healthy, at least eat before sunset. If it is not possible for some reason, at least finish your dinner before 7 or 7:30. If you want to be spiritually benefited by the way you eat, have your dinner by 4 o'clock. And a simple one, because you're going to sleep by 9 o'clock minimal, and it is better to have light food. And there is something in a day called Sandhi Kalam. In temples, they do some pujas at this duration. What is Sandhi Kalam? Sandhi means encounter, junction. That is Sandhi. So when the night meets the day, that is a Sandhi. When day meets night, that is Sandhi. When morning meets afternoon, that is also Sandhi. So every change of time, depending upon the light, depending upon the sun, is called Sandhi. So sunrise, sunset, and the noon shift, they're all Sandhi. So at this time, what is being told is the energy on the earth because of that light falling on us is not very positive. That is going to be a little bit neutral or negative. And at those times, we are not supposed to do something negative because it'll have more bad effect. So in those times, we are not supposed to indulge in few things like arguments, sleeping. At Sandhi Kalam, we should not be sleeping, which means before sunrise, we should get up. During sunrise, during sunset, we should not sleep. And even during noon, we are not supposed to sleep. During Sandhi Kala, we should not sleep. We should not indulge ourselves in very strenuous work. We should be either praying. We should not be cleaning anything. We should not be sweeping our home. We should not be taking bath. These are all not recommended in Sandhi Kalam. We should not be involving even sitting on the staircase, indulging in sexual activities. These are all prohibited at this time period. Similarly is food. In this time period, the energy level is not very positive. So avoid eating food in this time. And sunlight is the indicator of a digestive capacity. In olden days, people will not eat if the sun is not visible. Many adults, even now you can see some elder people, they go out and pray to sun. They offer their prayers. If there is no sun visible, it is very cloudy, they don't eat. Still, there are some people, some of my patients still say this. They don't eat when there is no sunlight. Gandhiji has written in his biography that his mother was doing the same thing. His mother goes out for praying to the sun. If there is no sunlight, she thinks she is not supposed to eat and she won't eat. So Gandhiji developed this sense of fasting and the willpower to do fasting, all those things by observing many experiences in his life, and one is his mother. That's what he quotes. Okay, and just before noon, the sun is ascending at its maximum and not crossing the noon mark, digestive power is going to the maximum. So in our hospital, what we do, we give lunch to the patients by around 11:30. So I recommend, see, we are having a different kind of setup in our hospital, but for normal people, this lunch, the main meals, what the Western world calls as brunch, that's what we call as lunch, because that is the main lunch what we have. You can have any time between 10 to 11:30 or even 9:30 to 11:30, depending upon what time you get up and what is your routine. But any time in that period is okay. As long as it is in the way I have told before, like fruits, boiled vegetables, and all those things. In summer, digestion is more generally, but because exhaustion is also more, we don't feel that we crave for more food. We crave for very delicious food, whatever we want. No, because there's exhaustion. But actually, summer season is very apt for digestion. But if you don't keep yourself cool, if you don't eat foods which give you some ability to keep your body balanced very easily, you lose the desire to eat more. And eating more eating more food which are complicated to get digested, all will actually create a sense of difficulty and tiredness when you eat the food, and you may not like to eat that food again. And the wrong foods in summer are actually a cause for fainting or even the sunstroke. See, sunstroke doesn't happen in any villages. Sunstroke only happens in cities. Why? Because in villages, the lifestyle is different. Whatever they eat, sunstroke is not going to happen in village, because in village, it is a very different lifestyle. The bad food is not as bad as cities. The habits are not like city. There is no stress like city. So sunstroke happens only in cities, not in villages. So there's a clue. It's not a coincidence. And in winters, people like to eat more in winters. And people find digestion power is very good in winter. That is because of the stimulation of the food, not the actual winter process. See, in winter, all the organisms eat less, including plants. The eating is less in winter. Producers are not more, consumers cannot eat them more. So the plants reduce, even all the herbivores go into a semi-fasting. There is food is reducing. But because in winter, exhaustion is not common. Because when we work, we feel exhausted by the heat what we produce and accumulate. If you send off the heat immediately, there won't be much exhaustion. In winter, it is cold predominantly, and whatever food you eat, whatever work you do, it is not going to cause exhaustion like in summer. And digestive power is also less in winter. But we like to eat more because we find it as the best thing to do in winters. We are lazy, don't want to get up, yes, get up late, and what more to do? Eat. That is the best job to do. This kind of habits have made us feel that in winter digestion is very good, because many people argue with me like this. No, in winter only I can eat nicely. That is all not actual the digestive capacity. Eating does not mean digestive capacity. Eating is only eating capacity. You eat large quantity, it is the quantity for the stomach to hold, not digestion capacity. Digestive capacity is different. You have to experience that. So, to keep yourself warm in winter, you have to be active. Get up early. See, all our fastings and prayers are in the best ones are in the winters, and we have to get up early. Get up at 4:30, because when you get up early, your metabolism actually becomes different, and you can keep your body warm throughout the day. And take bath in cold water, natural water, cold water, because that gives you warmth throughout the day. Okay. Cold water creates warmth in the body. Hot water creates coolness in the body. Does not mean in summer you should take bath in hot water. It creates coolness because it reduces the capacity to create warmth. It means it reduces the metabolic capacity. Your body is going to become less active. Because you're not producing heat, you feel a little bit cooler, but that is not health. That is not energy. Energy is you have to feel warm as the body requires. So take bath in cold water. That makes your body create extra warmth by using energy. This also prevents extra weight gain and obesity. Okay, so take bath in cold water. That is the best. And whenever in any situation, doesn't matter summer, winter, morning, day, night, it doesn't matter. Whenever you feel digestive fire is less, either avoid food or alter food accordingly. Keep it simple, like liquid, like juices, soups, something like that, and don't eat heavy food. Because when you're younger age, you can digest even unwanted food by using the credit balance what you have. But when you turn older, that is going to show up much earlier. Do not misuse your power when you are in power, because there will be a time when you don't have power. All the karmas what you did when you had power will have its consequence come up there. So try not to eat regular when your digestive fire is less. Eating is a choice, make it wise. Next, we'll see where to eat. In which kind of place you should be eating. The place we eat should be a place where when you just enter, it should give you some pleasant feeling. It should give you a calmness. The people who are going to serve your food should be very calm and at peace. Imagine the place is very calm, but the people who are serving are, shouting and doing something unpleasant. How do you feel at peace? No, you will not feel at peace. So everything is included. The environment includes the actual place, the ventilation, this natural light, the people there, the history of the place. Everything matters. Everything matters where you eat. Okay, eat in a calm place, and the place should not be very moist, very sunny. It should be ventilated, but not windy. It's not recommended to eat in a very windy place, noisy, crowded area, because these all places cannot keep you calm. Do not eat or carry food to places where it is not divine. See, food is divine in Indian culture. Food is not protein and carbohydrate. In Indian culture, food is God. When you're sitting and eating, when the king comes also, you need not get up because you're eating. The eating person should sit and eat and you should not get up for anybody. That much importance we give for food. Food is God. That is how we refer to food. Food is God. Okay. So do not carry food to places where it is not supposed to be taken. For example, you have a packet of food or you want to eat something hidden. Many kids do it. Some adults, they eat something which is prohibited in the home, then they don't know what to do. So there are some instances where I know people do this. They eat in the bathroom, they eat in toilet, sitting and eating on the bed, sitting on the pathway, on the staircases. These are all not recommended when it is considered about food. It's a very, very bad thing. It will change the energy of the food. It'll change a lot of things. See, these all things cannot be proved or it cannot be shown immediately unless you start living in sync with your energy body. You are able to feel the energy body. You won't feel the importance what I'm telling here. But please understand, it is definitely affecting your energy body. And also, see these places of purification like toilet, bathroom. In this kind of places, it is told we should not spend even more time there. We should spend minimal time there and come out of it. Because that is a place where the energy is very different. We should not be engulfed by that energy level for a very long time. Now, sitting in toilet and reading paper and wasting time inside toilet and bathroom are all not a good thing. This is a very small process in the day. It's a cleansing process. Clean, fast, and come. That is what is recommended in our traditional textbooks. And the best place for dining is in the middle of the home. not any corner and all. The middle of the home, see, of course, these all designs are considered for about the designs in the olden days, where the middle of the home is actually a larger space. People gather in the middle of the home. But sitting around facing any direction is okay. But some people spiritually, they avoid facing north and eating. I don't know exact reason, but they avoid facing north. They eat other directions. And sitting on dining table is definitely going to make somebody eat more than they sit on the floor. So make it a habit, sitting on the floor and eating in your home right away. Make it a habit. Dining table is actually a, the place is blocked for eating. The table can be used for any purpose, but it's in a home, that place is lost for a table, which you do only twice or thrice in a day, just for eating. It is better if you don't have dining table at all. If there are elders who cannot eat sitting down, there can be arrangements made temporarily, only for the time of eating. A comfortable adjustment can be done. Instead of buying a huge, large, expensive dining table and everybody sitting on the table. No, sitting on dining table is going to make people eat more. So try to avoid it. Sitting on the floor makes your food go naturally, and the blood supply is more to the abdomen than sitting on a table with the legs hanging down. Okay, even if you suppose it happens on a dining table, you can keep your legs crossed. That is actually helpful. Of course, you cannot be able to bend down on a table, but it is somewhat better. Sitting on the floor, put a mat below. While eating, it is not recommended to sit directly on the floor. It is okay, but spiritual purposes, it is not good. And bend down and eat food. That is how it is better. And the place should not be too dark. Eating in darkness is prohibited in our tradition, and I recommend the same thing. Not too bright. If it's too bright, also your senses work differently. A normal required light, normal bright light. And when everybody is hungry around you, or people are in some bad things have happened, and everybody is around you is in some bad emotion, some sadness or anger or something, don't keep eating between that crowd. Naturally, when everybody is hungry, you keep eating. That is not a nice thing at all. And avoid negative circumstances. That is going to be much better when you eat, when you choose of where to eat. How to eat? Definitely eat with your hands. Eating with spoon is not something great. Okay. See, when foreigners came to our land, they saw everybody eating with hand. They were not surprised because it is natural to eat with the hand. But they were like, when we go to temples, we all are given some prasadam and we take with the hand, and we don't wash hand before taking prasadam. It is not possible. We stand near the chamber of God. How do we go and wash? Where do you wash hand? People just eat it. They were like, how nobody gets infection? Have you ever heard anywhere, I went to temple, I had prasadam, I got fever, I got cold? No, you don't wash hands. So where does all this hygiene concept go? We touch so many things. So what happens when they were doing the research on this? They found in the palm where we collect the tirtha, there is a electricity flowing, which makes the goodness in the food increase and the badness in the food reduce. So this is how they understood eating with hand is actually very helpful than eating with a spoon or a fork. So definitely eat with your hand. It is going to be very helpful. And do not engage in any activity while eating, like maybe using your phone or watching TV, discussing, fighting, arguing. Avoid any of these things. In fact, it is better to be silent in the place while eating. silence outside you and silence inside you. That silence is going to act as a very good thing while eating. And there are some modern restaurants where they stand and eat. That is really not good. Biologically, that is not going to be very good when you stand and eat. It is going to alter the energy level, the digestion process, so many things. It is not good. And don't walk while eating. So I said you, even when king comes when you're eating, you need not get up. That much how importance is given to the process of eating, and it is divine. So, and also don't eat with the future appointment in mind. In half an hour you have to start for some place and you are now in a hurry. That all things should not be while eating. See, whatever work you're doing with hurriness, they're all things you're doing only for this good food. And when you're having the food, what is the point of running here and there? See, I don't care what emotions you have for the work, but when you eat, you don't eat patiently. That is going to create some problem. Very minute level, but it can become a habit soon. So make it a habit. You should not eat in hurry. And chew well. See, this is a very common thing. Everybody knows this these days. You have to chew well and eat. You have to chew 30 number of times. Now they say all numbers. That holds good only if you're eating good food. If you're eating bad food, like for example, there's a food certainly bad for health, don't try to chew well or mix with saliva more and all, because you just eat it with improper chewing. It won't be processed well by the body and it will come out fast. You chew well, you are going to take the essence of it inside you. So don't choose to eat wrong food. If you're eating wrong food, don't bother about chewing well. Chewing well and mixing your saliva, concentrating and focusing on the food is going to extract the essence of the food to you. So don't do it if it's a bad food. Okay, just eat normally. Don't be very careful about it. Just eat. And don't be guilty. When you eat wrong food, the wrong food is a known fact, but people don't die by eating wrong food immediately. So don't curse the food and eat. Don't be scared while eating. See, it's a consequence what we're speaking. We're not labeling them. The food what we call bad is going to create a consequence which is not very good. Okay. Even the food what we think as divine is sometimes not like that. Okay. So don't eat by thinking frequently and continuously it's a bad food. It's going to do bad for me. It's going to do this for me. No. Just eat normally and finish it. Don't focus on extracting everything else inside it by chewing well, mixing with saliva, focusing. All these things don't do when you're eating a bad food. That's what is the summary. And it is common for men in those days to remove shirt while eating. When you eat, your body temperature changes, your body's requirement changes. So it was a good idea to eat without shirt for those days for the men, to have a good experience for eating and to feel comfortable. Men used to eat more than ladies. That's what we think. Sometimes it was not true, but that's how we think. And it helped them. And while eating, when we don't wear shirt, it actually makes you feel better to eat more food. Okay, this was not done in every homes, but traditionally it was a custom. Still, Brahmins follow it in their functions. Okay, and the order what we discussed before, please don't change that. First fruits, then raw vegetables, very little. Boiled vegetables, boiled greens, and then grains. Even after grains, some fruits like banana, mango, sapota, chiku, those kind of fruits can be had. But definitely no melons, no watermelon, no muskmelon, either before or after food. In fact, even jackfruit can be had if it's very ripe after the food. But fruits like jackfruit, watermelon, muskmelon are all best eaten alone. For example, you take jackfruit. Now, jackfruit is a meal. Or if you're having it like a snack, have only jackfruit and don't take anything else for some time later. And if jackfruit is not ripened well, it can produce a lot of gas. Watermelon and muskmelon requires and creates a different digestive capacity that it is not suitable for digesting any cooked food or other heavy foods. So don't mix melons. These days, many functions when you go there as a welcome drink, they give you watermelon juice. I don't drink those watermelon juices, okay, because they definitely change my digestion. I don't drink them. Especially when I'm not very hungry, I don't drink them at all. So in some weddings, they add pepper powder along with watermelon juice. They add sufficient amount of pepper powder. That is actually a nice idea. Okay. Not everybody does it, but some people do it. That actually makes it better. Some people add other spices also in their watermelon juice. So that's all creativity. But we should know that some fruits are to be had alone. We're not mixing with anything. And in grains, when we go to a feast, it is common we see they put a banana leaf and they first keep salt. That is wrong. In olden days, it was not salt which was kept first. Salt was kept later, towards the end, when there is obvious requirement of salt, like when they come to curd or buttermilk. The first thing to be kept in a leaf is a sweet. Near your right hand side, there will be a sweet served. That is the first thing to be served. It can be rice plus cane sugar plus ghee, or just rice and cane sugar, or rice, cane sugar, and banana, or some dal and some sweet, some sugar. Like, a payasam, a rice payasam or dal payasam, some payasam with some ghee. This is the first thing to be recommended in traditional kind of eating. After that, they serve rice, dal, and ghee, some fat. See, these days in modern medical science, they say protein should be accompanied by a fat. So dal is protein, ghee or oil is fat. This was not discovered in olden days, but they know the exact combination. Whenever they gave protein food, they also added oil along with it. That is a very common thing. And after eating that is either sambar or some kind of gravy which has a lot of vegetables. Then is rasam. And when you eat rasam, this is the time we have to serve this fried, crispy, and crunchy things. Okay, it is not before. For example, they keep papad. That is to be served at this time because that is meant for this rasam. See, when we eat, we have to eat foods which can be eaten by biting, some by chewing, some by sucking, some by drinking. All this kind of eating satisfies us completely. So, traditionally, all these things are taken care. All the taste, yesterday somebody asked about the six taste. In a regular traditional way of serving the feast, all the tastes actually come in. The green leaves, what they serve you after that payasam in the starting. Some they keep some um, raw vegetables, a small portion of raw vegetables. See, these raw vegetables, these green leaves, all give you a desired effect. For example, in the raw vegetables, what they serve in the feast, it actually chewing. You chew and swallow the bulk, the fiber. And the green leaves, what they keep, it is a part of a bitter. Okay. So they fry something in till oil, or they use till oil for something. That is having an essence of bitterness. So these all things are traditionally done. And after rasam is payasam. And only after that sweet it is curd. Why? Because after curd, whatever sugar items you eat won't digest well. It is going to create bloating. But does it make sense? See, whether you eat payasam before or after, it is going to touch each other. But you just try this. If you eat the sweet before curd, the digestion is much better than you eat the sweet after curd. People keep the payasam, save the payasam to eat after the get up from the feast. They can carry it and drink later. No, that is not the right method. After payasam is curd or buttermilk, and then is some bananas or mangoes or anything. But generally they serve bananas. Is easy to serve. It's always available throughout the year. And then it is traditional to eat this bitter leaf and bitter nut. See, I'm just mentioning the traditional way of eating. So if at all you're eating the feast, follow these things, because even if you don't follow these things, see, definitely you're going to face these all things in our life. When you break this normal traditional routine, that methodology what they have made, it will not end up in good digestion. So try to eat, in that manner. And fruits should be raw. You can eat them as it is, or it should be juices. Some people have the habit of boiling some fruits and eating. See, that is it is for certain purposes it may be okay, but that is not normally recommended. Fruits are best when they eaten raw, fresh. Juices means fresh juice. And vegetables, some can be eaten raw. Majorly, it should be boiled. Though vegetables and fruits are same in botany, both are matured part of the flower. But fruits have a different appeal. See, all the fruits are colored. They have a fragrance which is attractive. They have a taste which is very sweet and attractive. They look beautiful because of the colors, different colors. Hardly you will find fruits which are green in color. For example, guava is green. Jackfruit is green. But generally, fruits are colored. Vegetables are, in the contrary, generally green. See, generally, all the vegetables are green. Some exceptions, like carrot, beetroot, onion, these are all not green. But these all things are not vegetables either. They're all roots. Okay? We classify them as vegetable. See, we classify tomato as vegetable, but tomato is actually a fruit. It's not a vegetable. And tomatoes are red, they're not green. Anything which is green and changes its color when they're ripe is basically a fruit. Vegetables don't do that. Vegetables remain green. Okay? And vegetables are not sweet. They don't attract you with the smell. Have you smelt any vegetable and felt, wow, what a fragrance? But that is possible with the fruit. Any fruit you take, it has a special fragrance, special odor, which is very attractive and very large. Large space it can occupy. You cannot hide ripened mangoes or ripened jackfruit and all in any place. Ripened chickus, can you hide them? They all give out a attractive fragrance which anybody likes, right? But vegetables don't create that kind of thing. So that's different in when you come to eating them. So some vegetables can be had raw, like cabbage. 1 or 2 leaves you can have it raw. After that, it starts burning because it has a lot of sulfur. It starts burning. So not all vegetables you can eat raw. Okay, you can try anything, but if you eat raw, you require good digestive capacity. So majorly it is boiled and had. And green leaves you can have raw. For example, durva grass, you can make it a juice. It's a raw. It's not boiled or anything. You can eat curry leaves raw, coriander leaves raw, pudina leaves you can eat raw. There are some other plants which we may not know the common names in every language. There are many plants which you can eat the leaves raw. Okay, when there is no food available, the monkeys eat some leaves raw. They eat banana leaves, they eat mango leaves, they eat guava leaves. Monkeys eat even leaves when there is no food available. Okay, so leaves can be eaten raw. Most herbivorous animals eat only leaves and grass. We can't eat in the same way like every leaf. And some we can make chutney without any seasoning, without putting any oil, anything. Just grind with a grinding stone or in a mixer, whatever is convenient. Just grind it with some coconut or something. Add some amla for taste, maybe some salt or some chili, whatever. But don't cook it. Some green leaves can be boiled and had. Most of the leaves can be boiled and had. That is the best way to. These are the best ways to eat a green leaf. And grains. soak it and boil it well, so digestion is easier. And when you serve it, you should have some moisture, you should have some water, like ganji, and only fresh. When you leave the cooked grain to remain for a long time, it actually ferments. It starts producing alcohol. So you eat dull and intoxicated after you eat that. You can't focus and not very fresh. So see, grains ferment faster. So try not to make them old and eat. Eat them fresh. Fresh means within 4 hours of preparation is considered better. And nuts. Nuts ought to be eaten only with some sweet fruits or natural sweets like dates or honey or cane sugar kind of things. Why? Because nuts digest better only with those sweets. Eating only nuts are not going to get digested very easily. For so many reasons, nuts are basically dry. They are seeds. To digest them, we require some sweet. Even when they take oils from seeds, see, oils come from seeds. When they grind that seed nuts, they add some cane sugar or palm jaggery to extract the oil effectively. Of course, even otherwise, some oil will come, but it's a common practice to do this. What is oil cake? The remaining contents after the oil is extracted is oil cake. Oil cake, if you're eating it, you will know it is sweet. Not very sweet, but it is also sweet. Why? Because they added some sugar, cane sugar and jaggery along with it for extraction of the oil in an effective manner. That's why it is sweet. And this oil cake they used to feed the cows, cattle. Actually, the nutrition, many of the nutritions are going in the cake, oil cakes. So having a sweet along with nuts is the right way to have nuts. Do not eat nuts as it is and do not overeat nuts. Nuts overeaten can create some problems, but you will not even know that is a problem because of nuts, because people think nuts are healthy. See, healthy does not define eating more. Healthy only says it is safe and good to eat, but there are so many procedures to eat every single thing. Roots are best eaten in a boiled manner or steamed, or some can be eaten raw. Like, for example, carrot can be had raw, beetroot can be had raw, onion can be had raw. These all things can be had raw. We never tried, but it can be had raw. In our hospital, we give raw onions to eat, and they don't feel difficult at all because the body is returning towards nature with the correct food. That onion does not create discomfort. Water, either warm or normal, or very cold. See, the cold I mean here, not the normal chillness what nature creates in a normal water what you keep in your home or which is available in the nature. Not that. I'm telling about the cold, very cold water, like refrigerated water. Those all things can be consumed as a therapy purpose at certain situations, but not common thing. When you go to restaurant or in your home also, do not have the habit of drinking chilled water. That is a very, very bad habit, and it is bad for the water and bad for the food. Whatever you eat, the chillness is going to affect it. Don't mix chilled food with normal cooked food. In fact, avoid any chilled food in your life, like chilled beverages, ice creams, chilled waters. No, do not drink that. In summers, what chillness you can have is pour the water in a earthen pot. That chillness, what it creates, is okay. But don't artificially chill it beyond certain level. Okay. And honey, do not take in a spoon, like a scoop of ice cream, and just swallow it. Don't pour honey from a tumbler and drink it. No. This all can get stuck in the throat. It can suffocate. It can choke. Never eat honey like that. And the best way to eat honey is pour it on your palm and lick your palm, or with another finger, take it and lick it. See, licking is the right way of eating honey. Okay, little by little, mix it with saliva and eat it. When you eat honey like this, you can experience many different hidden tastes in honey, not just sweet. Sweet, hot, astringent, bitterness, everything will come. When you make juices, generally we prefer only fruit juices, but make any juice, sugarcane juice, fruit juice, vegetable juice, anything, sip it and drink slowly. Even tender coconut for the same matter, sip it and drink slowly, because they're having concentrated nutrition now. The fiber is missing, so drink slowly. Otherwise, you won't get the best benefit out of it. Okay, sip it and drink slowly. For example, if you add 5 oranges in a juice, imagine how much time will you take to complete eating 5 oranges. So at least take that much time. Drink slowly, enjoy it, and drink slowly. And tender coconut, muskmelons, watermelons, and all are to be eaten when the sun is hot, because they are supposed to be eaten like that. Otherwise, sitting in an air conditioned room and eating these things in the night time are all not recommended. When your body is sensitive, it may show the reaction. Okay, so yes, we have seen few things. There are still more topics left. We will discuss them tomorrow. Today, because now it is a little time, we will postpone the question and sessions. Like, if you have anything, you write it down. See, most of your questions will have answer just in the session itself. Like, see, yesterday whatever we discussed, those all answers are coming today. There will be definitely answers, because whatever is a myth, whatever people are having something to ask, everything we are going to cover. Because the point of these classes is to cover so that people don't do mistakes. So all those things will be coming definitely for you. Okay, if you have any questions, please note it down. We can discuss them again. And really thank you so much for joining in the session. And definitely please spread the message, because you can help somebody know something better. And in this lockdown times and all, people are much free, relatively freer than other times, because things can change here and there. So share the news, let people come and learn something better, and you apply it in your life. Unapplied knowledge is of no use. So put into practice, experience, come up with doubts, we'll discuss. We have a long time to go. Okay, and thank you so much for joining in. We'll meet again tomorrow.
Sure. Hello.
Yes.
Sir, நாளைக்கு வந்து செஷன் இல்ல சார், உங்களை சார் சொல்ல சொன்னார் செஷன்ல. நாளைக்கு மண்டேல இருந்தா திருப்பி ஆரம்பிக்கும்.
Okay, Monday. Okay, very good, sir.
Okay. ஒரு வாட்டி இன்ஃபார்ம் பண்ண சொன்னார் உங்களுக்கு குரூப், உங்க இதுலயே Zoom கால்ல.
Okay, sure. Okay, there is not class session tomorrow, so we'll meet on Monday. Thank you. So there is a question here. Sir, sprout can be taken at what time, raw or boiled? Sprouts can be either raw or boiled. But sprouts are not natural. See, with everybody, every nature center says it's natural food. Sprout cannot be natural, because a sprouting seed is never visible. It is under the earth. But for therapy purpose, we are using it. Sprouts, if taken raw, it takes some time to digest. So have it little, or mix it along with cooked food. For example, a sprouted seed can be mixed is in your sambar. That can be used as a vegetable. That's good. So it is not raw now. So it is, if you eat a boiled sprout, a steamed sprout, it digests better and also gives the nutrients at the same time. Okay. And milk products, we don't recommend at all. But traditionally, milk products, people don't touch milk after sunset. See, they don't even touch. For example, you have curd in your home. Your neighbor wants some curd to pour in the milk to make it curd. When they come and ask, they don't come and ask. Traditionally, they know they should not ask. They won't ask. Why they don't ask? Because nobody touches milk after it is sunset. After sunset, nobody touches milk or milk products in those days. Okay. So it is not recommended to have milk at night. But some Ayurveda specialists tell buttermilk is okay at night. See, it's only okay. It is not, compulsory. Avoid all kind of animal food, especially at nights. If you're having any animal product, it is preferable to keep it at the afternoon. I mean, before noon, because the digestion is going to be better. No, not because sprouts are new life. No, we are not going to that kind of vision, that kind of concepts. Because sprouts are not natural. See, when a seed is growing, its chemistry is changing. Why we recommend sprouts as a good nutritious food is because it is going to create more nutrition. Like, the vitamins and minerals are more in a sprout than when it was not sprouting. So it is actually good source of good nutrients. But because the digestive capacity in the people is not so good, it creates discomfort. See, I'm prescribing sprout because it's good, but it creates bad effect for you. You are either going to lose faith in the sprout or on me. People don't understand. Good food does not mean digestion is easier. Good food has a rule. Sprouts are therapeutic, definitely, but it has to be eaten with a proper manner. So eat less sprouts. For example, your handful of sprouts is going to be a meal. It's going to be a meal. It is not a snack. So one handful of sprouts is a meal. Then imagine how much nutrients it should be having. So if you're having a meal and adding sprouts along with it, one handful of sprouts can be mixed in a food what you prepared for the whole family. That much is fine. That much is good. Okay. So we prescribe sprouts because it's having life. So it's not about the question of it's a new life. It's definitely very healthy to have sprouts. But if you really want to take it, boil it or add in some food which you're cooking. It is digestion becomes easier. Okay. Daytime, can we take milk? No, we don't recommend milk at any time because milk is milk. Milk is from animal. Milk is old when it is milked. When the cow's milk comes out of its body, it is old. Milk is supposed to travel from the blood of the cow to the udder of the cow to the mouth and stomach of the calf and then blood of the calf. That's the pathway for the milk. There is no milking and keeping in a vessel, boiling. No, all these things are not natural. So that destroys the capacity and the divinity of the milk itself. Okay. Acidity and breakfast. See, breakfast name itself is for a reason. We are supposedly fasting throughout the night. So we're breaking it by having a breakfast. Breakfast is done by liquids, not solid. Have you seen in any political fasting? They break the fast by eating idli, dosa, roti, pizza, burger, chips, Coca-Cola. No, it's liquid and natural. They either drink tender coconut or water or juices. That's what they do. Breakfast is liquid. Drink water, honey mixed water, tender coconut, fruit juices. They're all the best breakfast. Okay. So that will also take care of your acidity. Start following the things, whatever you're discussing. Definitely your acidity will be better. Definitely. Do not worry at all. Okay. And tomorrow we're going to see what we should not be eating. If you avoid those foods, see, if you had started sleeping early and getting up early, definitely your health would have seen some improvement by now. In this 4 days itself, you will see some improvement. Definitely. Most diseases will see an improvement when there is a good sleep, early sleep, and early rising. Okay. Just by avoiding the food what we should not eat. See, now we're sleeping early, getting up early, avoiding food what we should not eat. Just these two will ensure a lot of things happen good. Okay. So we will discuss in detail. So try to keep your breakfast light and liquid. That is better. Okay. Okay, fine. So is there anything else we should discuss, or actually we can save it for later because there are so many things to come. There are so many answers yet to come. Actually, you'll be shocked in the future classes. Okay. Okay, fine. So let us end the session now. Okay. Thank you so much for joining in. We'll meet again on Monday. Okay. Thank you all.